Welcome back. Did you know this spiritual awakening is happening for you? Not to you, but for you. Are you ready to tune in and turn up our vibration? Let's go. All right. Welcome back to my channel. I'm Infinity Moonchild, and I wanted to talk about this spiritual awakening. Everybody is talking about it. It's an event that everyone experiences, and you may see it as something that happened that was traumatic, that might have happened in your life, that kind of snapped you out of your regular everyday thinking and popped you into this other expanded way of seeing things. So, for instance, I had a major spiritual awakening March 11th, 2011. But prior to that, I had events happening in my life that were waking me up more and more. So when I was 14, 15 years old, I found out that my brother, my younger brother, we all found out that he had leukemia. And that was an awakening of sorts. It was an awakening, a change, a flip to my everyday life where you didn't feel like normal kids. You now had parents that were concerned, that our whole family was concerned. We were that, this was a life-threatening illness that my brother was experiencing. And he was 8 years old at the time. So that was a bit of an awakening for me, for our whole family. And you hear about other people that have gone through different traumas in their life, that they're not quite the same after that. That's the same with this spiritual awakening. I know this is a word that everybody is using right now, but it truly is an awakening. You wake up from this unconscious state that you are in, this repetitive life of, okay, I wake up, I go to school, I see the same friends, I come home, I have dinner with my family. I mean, there may be little things here and there, but mostly it's routine. So, with that being said, that awakened something within me about life, about our bodies. When a child is sick and they're 8 years old and they haven't really lived that long, well, in this lifetime, because I do believe in previous lives, so that's a whole nother video. Anyway, it changes things. For me, it changed how I looked at life and how things can change so quickly. So change became something that was familiar to me, because it became a day-to-day. My brother had doctor's appointments, he had different medications he was on, he was going through different treatments. I mean, things were day-to-day. So that was an awakening for me. I started to not feel like I could relate to other friends around me, because they were just living a regular teenage life, and my life wasn't like everyone else's. Fast forwarding from there, in 1999, my brother transitioned after dealing with leukemia and remission and out of remission and chemo and radiation and stem cell transplant, bone marrow, all of the things. And I was the one that gave him we all were tested, and I was the one that was a perfect match to give him my stem cells. So he transitioned in 1999, which then was another awakening for me, because now we literally brought him home, and his spirit left his body at home right there with all of us around him. Now this was an experience that none of my friends had ever experienced. So this was another kind of awakening. Like, whoa, okay, someone can literally just leave their body like this. And now I'm facing and experiencing death, which was traumatic for all of us. And I heard a quote today by Bessel van der Kolk. I hope I don't ruin that. He's the author of The Body Keeps Score. And he said, trauma is not the event, it is the response. Trauma is not the event, it is the response. And I had to sit and think about that for a bit, because for a while there, prior, I was thinking that the trauma was what had happened to me. This had happened to my family. How could this happen to us? And I went in this space of feeling like this was a traumatic event that happened to us. And now, in a more awakened space in my consciousness, I see it as something that happened for us, to wake us up to the possibilities of what dis-ease really is. Now, my brother since then has come back to me several times in dreams. And one time, in particular, he came back and told me that his life, he wasn't feeling joy. He wasn't feeling joy in his life. And this took me down a rabbit hole of wondering, could people really die and have disease because of unhappiness, or because of other reasons other than the basic of the 3D body, that something physically happened and they're gone, or that they have, abused themselves with different things? Yes. So then here we are today. And that took me all the way to the space I am in now. So let me rewind. That took me in a place of wondering, well, how does this happen? So at that point, I started to really get into near-death experiences. I was looking and wanted to know about people who had actually died and come back, or had messages from that and had come back. This led me to this on this road of finding out how death was not just one thing, one way. You get sick, you die, and that's it, and nobody knows why, or this is why, and this is the only reason why. That's not the case. So let me pop back to the big the big spiritual awakening of 3/11/11. So after all of this, I'd experienced this with my brother transitioning and experiencing all of the phases of grief, of really being angry, of feeling like the victim, like how could this happen to us, and experienced other things along the way. And in 3/11, I took a trip to Tokyo. My partner was there. He was doing a show, and I wanted to go. I had never been to Tokyo. I wanted to see his show, and I wanted to experience Japan. At that time, I was in a space of still trying to figure things out in my life, still trying to find joy within my life. And working great jobs and having friendships, but still feeling really unfulfilled and unhappy. And feeling like, well, maybe this is just the way it is. And really thinking about the trauma of losing my brother and feeling like, well, this is just, I guess, how my life is going to be. So thinking back to that quote, trauma is not the event, but it's the response. So my response was, well, this is just the way I am now. Nobody understands how I feel. Shitty things happen in life, and you just kind of go through the motions and try to find joy in whatever you can. So as I'm living this way and still kind of, in a space of sadness and unconsciously aware of my power in my life and still feeling like life is happening to me and not for me, I show up to Tokyo. And this was beautiful. Now, this is a part of my life that I actually really did feel alive, and it was when I would travel, when I would go to different places and be able to put my feet on different parts of this planet and experience different cultures. And so this was a beautiful thing. This was a great opportunity. And at this time, also in my relationship with my partner, it wasn't going great. And I had already had previous relationships that weren't going great. So I was at a point where I was feeling like, well, maybe relationships just aren't for me. And so I went, but I really, I was really in a space of wanting it to work. So before I left to this trip to go to Japan, I asked the universe to help me find some joy. And that this was my last ditch effort in this relationship, and I needed something to happen. And I felt like Tokyo might be a really great place for that to happen. And little did I know that my whole world was going to flip upside down. But, be careful what you wish for, what you ask for. I asked for a change. I asked for a sign. I asked for a shakeup, if you will. 3/11/11, my partner and I were in Harajuku, Japan, walking, getting little trinkets before his show. And we sat down and had lunch. And right after we had finished our lunch, the restaurant, the whole place started to shake. And kept shaking. And shaking and shaking and shaking. And I thought, oh my, okay, this is an earthquake. I lived in LA for a while. I had experienced some earthquakes. My partner's from San Diego. He had experienced earthquakes. But in my spirit, I felt like this is something different. Obviously, we're in Japan. But everyone in the restaurant got up and ran. Ran out of the place. Ran out of this restaurant. So at this point, I knew that this was something major. The chefs, the cooks in the back of the restaurant were running out. the server that had been serving everyone, she was telling us, get out, go. And my partner is like, well, why? Why are we leaving? I don't understand why they're kicking us out into. And I told him, hey, we're in Japan. Let's just do what they say. We ran out. Everyone was out in the streets. And we walked. And we walked. And we walked. And we ended up walking in a complete circle. We found out that the subway that we had taken was closed down. All the traffic was jammed. You could not get a cab. I mean, it was pure chaos. And we ended up circling back around to that restaurant. Well, at that point, I had to use the restroom. Now, we went in, and when I came out, my partner, his face was completely he looked like a ghost. And he said, she just told me that this was the worst earthquake ever. And so then, we go outside, we see people. People are crying. People are praying. And I hear this voice in my head, which I know now, a spirit speaking to me and my guides, telling me, you're not going to die in Japan. Not in the way that you think. And there was a sense of relief within this chaotic energy. Now, in this moment, something happened. It was an awakening for me. It was my internal guidance system. They had been, my spirit, my soul had been guiding me all this time through my life and trying to communicate with me. But I was in this space of feeling bad for myself, feeling like nobody understood me because they didn't experience death and sickness and things like that in their lives the way I had when I was a child. And this woke me up to, in a major spiritual way, where my guide, I had to actually be still and listen. And we were in a foreign country. We couldn't even talk to anyone. Everyone was panicked and just kind of scattered, and we didn't know what was going on other than there was this major earthquake. So we quietly were walking. We walked for 2 hours back to the hotel with a subway map of pictures, basically, to kind of navigate our way back. But we were guided by spirit. I know that. I believe that. I believe that. We didn't have phones to tell us how to get there. We tuned into our internal guidance system. But from that point on, I was awakened to that internal guidance system and recognized that it comes, that it's always been there, but you have to quiet. You have to quiet your mind. You have to be still to hear it. And sometimes the earth shakes and makes you be still, makes you sit down and listen. From that point on, I realized that life was happening for me to pay attention to what was going on in my life, to pay attention to the thoughts in my head, to pay attention to the peace that is available to all of us, that we have to connect to if we want to enjoy, to be in joy, to be in a space of joy. I feel like my brother was a part of all of this. And instead of feeling like that his death happened to me and to all of us, I feel like his transition to a spirit realm happened for me. as a guide, as another guide. In my previous video, I spoke of my father being a spirit guide to me after his transition. And my brother is that as well. So that spiritual awakening, that shake up, that wake up and understand that your response to this, to what is going on in your life, is up to you. And I know we all have experienced death. We've all experienced sickness and trauma in our lives, more now so than ever. And actually, yeah, a lot more now with the pandemic and things happening. This is happening for us. This spiritual awakening is happening for us to tune in, to ask us what is important, what is truly important in your life. And if you're not doing it, why? And if you can, do. Do it. Do the things that bring you joy. Surround yourself with the people that make you feel good and that you can give back to them. Be a light in this world. And know that this life is for us, for our expansion, for us to expand to a higher version of ourselves, to not just be living and existing day by day, but to really be in a space of joy and in a space where we wake up in the morning and feel like we are living in heaven right now and not waiting for it and just counting our days for heaven and to die, but to understand that there are little mini deaths that happen to us throughout our lives to crack us open to become an even more expanded version of ourselves every day. There are 2 books I want to share with you that helped me on my spiritual journey and also on the journey of understanding dis-ease and also, first, Louise Hay, You Can Heal Your Life. That book changed my life. It changed the way I was thinking in regards to disease. And when I talk about my brother and saying that he was feeling a lack of joy, that the minute I got this book, she talks about how energetically there's disease in us because of just more than what the medical records say, of what the doctors say, or what you've been eating or what you've been doing, but also energetically how you are feeling in your body. And how holding guilt and shame and the way you speak to yourself affects your body and the health of it. And that can ultimately be life that you speak into your life, into your body, or death. The other book I'd like to share is Anita Moorjani, Dying to Be Me. And she speaks about her journey with cancer and basically died and got a message about about her life and why this was happening to her. And she came back and completely recovered from cancer. Louise Hay also recovered from I can't remember what stage 3 or stage 4 of cervical cancer or somewhere in her womb, and came back and healed her life, healed her body. And I'll speak more about that on other videos. I'd like to share more information about those 2 books, but those were really, really helped me during these awakenings that I'm talking about as far as my spiritual expansion and how I've chosen to heal myself, heal my life on a spiritual level, on a physical level, on a mental level, and the thoughts that I think, and on a physical, like earthly level, as far as the things that I consume in my body for health. So those are those books, and I encourage you to check them out if you're looking to dig deeper and understand why things are happening for you, for this expansion, for this shift in consciousness, for us to understand that we can heal our lives, that we have more power in us to, and that we are creating our reality. If you enjoy this video, please like and subscribe, and I look forward to continuing this journey with you. And thank you again. We're going to tune in and turn up our vibrations. I am so grateful for all of you. Peace.